So now it's spring, about 1962. I've completed 2 years of graduate work here at the University of New Mexico, considering seriously my dissertation topic, upon which I'm going to spend probably the next year researching, writing, and the focus comes down to Jose Carlos Mariátegui, a Peruvian philosopher, social activist, journalist, writer, who plays an important part in the awakening of young people, intellectuals, probably in the university, to changes which can take place in the country of Peru. And that's what I'm seriously thinking. When, out of the blue, out of Cornell University, comes a report about an anthropologist, a Cornellian professor by the name of Alan Holmberg, who I discover is engaging in a fascinating project in Peru, in which he has obtained the rights to a Peruvian hacienda for, I think it was $500 a year, $300 a year, which gives him the control over this hacienda, this large land holding up in the high mountain area, Huaraz, as I recall. And with the hacienda comes 1,200 peasants, 1,200 serfs, 1,200 people who are obligated to work for whoever is the owner of this hacienda. Obligated. With no compensation except maybe what they receive is a small piece of land that they can work to hopefully try to sustain themselves. It's the typical type of land holding arrangement in Peru in the rural areas. And Alan Holmberg now is going to have control over this whole dominion because he's paid $300 a year over the lives of 1,200 people. And he decides, what can I do that can help these people rise themselves above the abject circumstances in which they live and move into a more modern society where they can have more control, more access to the benefits of the Peruvian Peruvian economic life as well, to bring them out of this feudal arrangement in which they live and help them become independent. At least these are my thoughts as to what he was attempting to do. You can read about this. Just go to Google and Google the Vicos experiment or the Cornell Vicos project. And I read about this, about what he's attempting to do and how he's going to, at least a glimmering of how he's going about it. And I say, hey, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be engaged in. That type of activity, helping to free these people from the bondage in which they've served for 400 years since the Spanish took them over as serfs, slaves. So that's working around in my mind. And then, serendipitously for me, I read about something new that's just come online, something new that's just taken place. It's a new government program. It's called the National Defense Foreign Language Fellowship, in which one can study a particular exotic language, exotic in terms of it's not French, Portuguese, Italian, the common languages. It's an exotic language which would be approved by the U.S. government, obviously for their long-term interests, but not just as an offer. It's no employment provided with it. It's just an offer to study an exotic language. And what exotic language would I like to study? One that has to do with a Vicos-type project. Where? In the highlands of Peru. And what language is there? Quechua. Quechua, study the Quechua Indian language so that I could work among those people doing the kinds of things, studying the kinds of things, at least, that Holmberg is engaged in. And so, Quechua, okay. Is Quechua a language which is being taught in the United States at a university where I could go for this training in that language? Yes. And what university is it? Cornell University, where Alan Holmberg is the professor in charge of the Vicos developing the Vicos project. Cornell University, Quechua Indian language, Vicos project, and then that takes me back to another element which goes into this monumental decision for me and my family. And that is at the completion of my Uruguayan mission back in 1954, a fellow missionary and I traveled to Cusco, Peru, to see Machu Picchu, and then on down to Lima before we fly from Lima back to Salt Lake City. And in Cusco, the morning we go to visit, certainly, the ruins of Machu Picchu, I'm sitting in the car, in the railroad car. It's like a bus on wheels. Sitting there, and we're getting ready to leave. I'm looking out of the window to my left, and there is an Indian, a Quechua Indian, looking at me. I look at him. We don't avert our eyes like you typically do socially. We look into each other's eyes. And in my mind come the questions. What is your life like? What is your family life like? What is it like for you to live and to be there looking at me? Who are you? And that moment stays engraven in my mind, and now comes back to me to study the Quechua language, to come to know what that person thinks, feels, lives, how he is as a human being, a fellow human being. That is the originating question. And some question always has to originate before you go into that area to discover it. So now, originating question, locale, language, and it's not to study Jose Carlos Mariátegui. It's to move into that environment and to come to know it as my own, as closely as possible, at least. So, I make application for this new fellowship which is just coming online. And I'm accepted. The next thing I'd have to do is get accepted to Cornell University. And so I make application to Cornell. Well, what am I going to study? Could be anthropology. I have more history. I wouldn't be as qualified in anthropology, and it would take me longer to get what I want to get. So I apply in history and am accepted in the graduate school. Well, the graduate school, once you're accepted there, can be changed. So I'm accepted. And this provides the same type of benefits that I have on my present NDEA fellowship at Cornell. I have another year left on this on this fellowship at Cornell, at New Mexico. I could stay there for another year and complete my dissertation. But no, I'm going to go to Cornell University. And so being accepted, receiving the fellowship, off we go, being our Rambler station wagon with another big trailer behind it going the highway, and went to Ithaca, New York. High above Cayuga's waters that we love so well, here it stands our alma mater. Hail, all hail, Cornell. Yes, we're